Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast, where I am on a mission to help you get Zettelkasten on your workbench beside you in the fewest number of steps. This is step 8 of the Minimalist series, and we are predominantly going to be placing main cards tonight. I say predominantly because there's something I'm going to show you first. Remember the assignment that I left you with last time? We had created quite a number of foundation cards, and your job was to add them to your index box. I hope you did that. Well, I have one thing special to show you about adding cards to your index box, and I will do that first when we get over to the down-facing camera, and then next, we will go through the steps of placing those main cards that you made during all of your reading. You've probably got a handful of them. I know I do. And they all need to go into the main box of our Zettelkasten. And that means we're going to be learning how to place new information into the Zettelkasten. Now, we saw already that you can declare a foundation card wherever you need one to bridge any gaps, or to just simply reserve a space for knowledge that you know is in your reading plan ahead of you, and you're not quite there yet, but you want to make note of the fact that that's where you're going and you want to set your intention. But now today we're going to take some of those cards that we made from those books that we were reading. Here's my books. And we made a number of bib cards quite a while ago, and we made main notes from those bib cards. And now it's time to place them into our Zettelkasten, now that we have a foundation established in our Zettelkasten to which we can attach these cards. So we're going to learn how that happens in just a moment over in our down-facing camera. But as I said, first we're going to talk about a wrinkle in indexing. See you over there. Okay, so while I was indexing this card, I came to the word LiLLiPub. Well, we all know what LiLLiPub is by now. LiLLiPub.org is that wonderful place where you can come and join the Zettelkasten circle and talk about Zettelkasten to people who love to play with it anytime at all. We're a wonderful little member organization, and we have some lovely little groups, and one of them is the Circle for Zettelkasten. Well, LiLLiPub.org is the creation of Victoria Crowder and I, because we wanted to create an online community that we wanted to belong to, and we couldn't find one that matched our dreams. So we built one ourselves. So now here's that card that I created. I hope to set LiLLiPub on a sound accounting foundation. Well, this is card 2C in my system, and when I got to LiLLiPub, my L card is already quite busy. And in particular, I noticed that I already had LiLLiPub here, and I already had LiLLiPub here. And now this was going to be another entry with LiLLiPub in it. Well, when that happens, I do a little wrinkle. This is something that Scott Shepard recommends, and I've copied him on that and a little variation of my own. So when I reach the point where I would have 3 lines with the same keyword, that keyword gets promoted to a card of its own. And now I'm going to transfer over the 2 entries from my general L's onto this card, and I'm going to add my new card also. So now my new LiLLiPub card has the 2 previously existing entries with LiLLiPub and the new entry with LiLLiPub. Next, I'm going to underline the word LiLLiPub each place where it occurs. And my LiLLiPub card is ready to go. Now, what about over here? I've got LiLLiPub here still too. It's in 2 places. Do I want it to be in 2 places? Well, what I want to do here is indicate that LiLLiPub is now been promoted to a card of its own. This is how I do that. This is my technique. Scott just crosses it off, but I don't like crossing it off. I think it's ugly and I want to just keep it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to underline the whole word, telling me that it's now standalone on a word of its own. And I'm going to put a special symbol on it, which is telling me, go see the LiLLiPub card. Now there's 2 of these, but wait, there's 2 letter L's in this tagline. I can't say go see the LiLLiPub. What about leader? So here I do a little bitty one to indicate that just LiLLiPub has a card of its own. I've underlined just LiLLiPub. Leader still just got the L underlined. And I make a miniature version of that symbol to indicate that just LiLLiPub moved over to a new card. I'll do that whenever I run into a word that is repeated 3 or more times on my general index card. I will give it a card of its own. And in fact, this has already happened more than once as I've been doing my indexing, my homework to index all of my foundation cards. Here's another one. The word foundation already appeared twice under the general letter F, and when my third occurrence of it took place, I made a whole separate card for foundation. But what's it doing here? If it has its own separate card, why did I also add it here? Well, because it had another word that started with F, and so it had to go in both places. This one is already promoted, and this one is still waiting. It's part of the general F. And there's even one more, hope. I already had 2 occurrences of the word hope, and when this card came along, it made the third one, and it went off onto the card with hope. It never appeared here because now I have a separate card just for hope, and it didn't have to come here because of another H, because hope is the only H in the tagline. So let's take a quick look at where we are right now before we begin our main process of beginning to add new cards to our Zettelkasten. We have our main box going, and in our main box we have all of the foundation cards that we made and all of the directory cards that go with them. We're getting to have a pretty good collection already in our Zettelkasten. And if we thought our main box was getting good sized, take a look at our index box. With all the dividers and all the cards, we're getting quite an index collection. And some of the letters are getting to be quite filled, which is amazing for the amount of work that we've done already. Pretty exciting, huh? So now we're going to talk about how do we place cards in the system. And I'm going to begin with the cards that I made from reading The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan. And these are the cards that I made from the bib card that I took on that book. And I have 3 of them to get us going. So how do you go about placing a card in the main box? The main cards all go in the main box. And the point that we're trying to do when we place a card is we want to find a card that this particular card wants to attach itself to. Find the card that this one wants to come right after. So how are you going to answer that? Well, one of the simplest ways to start would be to underline the keywords on the card. That gives us a starting point. And I came up with strive for ideals, don't, and measure. So my next step, if my Zettelkasten was very large, my most likely next step would be to start looking in my index box under these key words. Do I have strive? Do I have ideals? Do I have measure? And the answer is no, I don't. I already checked and looked. So then I have to step back and say, well, what else is this card about? Because I don't have an exact match on my keyword. And I'm thinking to myself, well, of course it's about business, but it's kind of about business goals. I have something in my index around business goals. I have a foundation card, realistic goals, celebrated, fuel business. Now, an index match tells me that I probably want to pull this card. This might well be the card this one wants to be attached to. So I go over here to my main box and I go to card 2A. And sure enough, it's telling my foundation card telling me I want to learn more about business planning and goal setting so that I can formulate attainable goals. Because I believe that planning and goal setting is important in any endeavor, but especially for business. So this is the card that this new card wants to follow. This new card wants to be right after this card. So we're going to give it the next available number, following the rule, number, letter, number, letter. We're going to switch back and forth between numbers and letters as we number the cards that go deeper. So this new card becomes 2A1. Whenever you add a new card, the number always grows longer. And we start with a number, then a letter, then a number, then a letter. Then just for readability, we put a little dash before we do the next set of number, letter, number, letter. So 2A, the card that comes right after it, is 2A1. Now my next step in this is indexing on the keywords that I identified. I'm not going to take that step right this minute because I want to keep moving, but it's a good idea to go ahead and index right away because it might help you with the very next card. And in fact, the next card that I go to place in my Zettelkasten wants to be attached to this very card right here. So this card number would be its parent's number, 2A1, and then it goes back to letter, 2A1A. Before I can index this, I need to identify keywords. In fact, I would usually identify the keywords first before finding the card match. So now my next step would be to index this tagline under each of these keywords that I've identified. So my Zettelkasten is growing. I have yet one more business card to place. Here's this one. And this time I'll remember to underline my keywords as my first step in placing it. And I already know, because I've been working in this area, that this card wants to follow this same one right here. It wants to come right after this one. Well, we know by our rules that that would mean this card would be 2A1A. But wait a minute. We've already got a 2A1A. Okay, so what's available? The next letter is B, so this one would be 2A1B. But now we've got a situation like in our foundation cards where this card has two child cards, 2A1A and 2A1B. So we know it's time to make a directory card for this one. And our directory card, as you will recall, includes the whole tagline from the parent card, the numbers that come after it, and the taglines of the two cards that come after it. And they all stack up this way. So here's our cards. 2A had a child card 2A1 that has two children, A and B, and so it has a directory card. Now here's the cards that I'm ready to place that have to do with pattern languages. And pattern languages was one of the subject areas in my section on how the mind works. And so I'm going to use the same idea. I'm going to take the first card and I'm going to underline the keywords that I want to include. And for me, they're pattern, language, and knowledge. Again, I would go to my index box and see if I have anything under pattern, language, or knowledge. Well, I have something. I want to know more about how the human mind works. That's kind of like knowledge, know and knowledge. Do I have anything under pattern language? Oh, yes, I do. I have pattern languages lend clarity and understanding. Okay, I think this is likely to be the card this one will want to attach itself to. Let me pull the card and see. Oh yes, this is the foundation card that I said on the value of pattern languages to lend clarity and efficiency to communication. That's a wonderful card for this card to follow. So since this card is 3C, this card will have to be 3C1 because we go number, letter, number. With that, my next step would be to index this card for each of the keywords. And now I have another card that I want to place. This one is the timeless way reflects the emergence of order. So here I've got timeless way, emergence, order. Those are the keywords that I would want to look for. So I'd go to my index again, but I don't yet have anything under timeless way. I don't have anything on emergence yet, and I don't even have any O's at all. So where is this card going to be placed? Again, I have to think about what the card is about and try other keywords. What is this order? Oh, I know. It's about those pattern languages that I was looking at. And in fact, this card would be very well placed right after this one. And since this is 3C1, this card would have to be 3C1A. And again, I would want to index these words. Next card. Well, this card turns out to be another card on the same subject of this timeless way. And so it's going to continue in the sequence. Well, now that means that my next card number is going to be 3C1A1, but because it gets hard to read them when they get too long, I include a dash before the 1. So now you can see how the numbering pattern goes. 3C, 3C1, 3C1A, 3C1A-1. So it's number, letter, dash before you put anything more. And for the last card that I'm going to demonstrate in this lesson, this is another card that also wants to go with 3C1A. But since 3C1A1 is already taken, it's going to have to be 3C1A2. And now, since 3C1A has 2 different children, it needs a directory card. And the directory card includes the tagline of the card that has the children coming off from it and the branches, the 2 children that follow it. And it goes right after this card. So why not give it a try? Try placing the main cards that you created from the book that you were reading, those 3 books that you started with, and place those into your Zettelkasten and see how it goes. If you run into any issues, post them in the comments and I will be happy to answer them for you. If you do join LiLLiPub.org, be sure to also join the Circle for Zettelkasten over there, and then you can put in pictures of your cards and you can ask your questions more directly over there. And not only I, but there's a number of people in the LiLLiPub.org Circle for Zettelkasten who understand this system, who will also be able to answer your questions. If you asked your question in YouTube, that's perfectly fine. You only have words, you don't have pictures. So that's the only difference, but feel free to ask your questions also in the YouTube right here in the comment section. Give it a try, see how it goes for you, and I hope you will find that you are really starting to get something out of your Zettelkasten as you begin already to see connections flowing from your Zettelkasten. So that's a fair amount of homework. You have to place all of your existing reading cards that you've created, and after you've assigned each one its number, you still have to index them. And that's an important step because your next card might tie in to your other main cards. Remember that as your Zettelkasten grows, you will find more exact matches to your terminology, but always be aware whenever you go to match them that sometimes you have to step back a little bit and say, What's this card about besides these key terms? Even though those key terms are what you're going to index because they will link into the next cards that come along. Because you have, again, a fairly lengthy homework assignment, I'm going to reserve the next 3 days for you to do the homework assignment, and then 4 days from now, I will post the next step. See you then. Bye-bye.